Today we're going to be looking at more triangle congruence theorems and writing some triangle congruence statements. As a quick review, there are 5 triangle congruence theorems. The first is side angle side. It says use side angle side when you have 2 pairs of sides, and the angle that is included, or the angle that is between those 2 sides, are congruent to the same in another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. The second condition was side, side, side. That is where you have 3 pairs of congruent sides. So you have to know you have 3 pairs of congruent sides. Hypotenuse leg is for right triangles only. That is where you know it's a right triangle, so you have to have that 90-degree marking. You have to know the hypotenuse are congruent to each other, and then one of the legs is also congruent to each other. The last 2 can often be mixed up. The only difference between angle side angle and angle angle side is that an angle side angle, the side that we're given, is between the 2 angles that are congruent. In angle angle side, the side is not between the 2 angles. It both involve 2 pairs of congruent angles and 1 pair of congruent sides. It's just about the position where that side is in relation to the angles. So we're going to go ahead and practice identifying congruent triangles by these methods. We're also going to write a triangle congruence statement. So the first one here says, determine whether the pair of triangles are congruent. If so, state the congruence theorem and write the congruence statement. If not, write not congruent. So at first glance, you might think I only have 2 pairs of sides. But there are some things in diagrams that I know to be true based on facts that we've already learned. So if you remember, we talked earlier in the year about vertical angles. So I have a pair of vertical angles here, and vertical angles are always congruent. So when I mark that information, I now have a side, an angle in between, and another side, a side, an angle in between, and another side. So I know these triangles are congruent by side angle side. And then the other piece it asked me to do was to write a congruence statement. So if I look at this, I'm going to say triangle ACB is congruent to. Now I have to write this in a way such that the corresponding sides line up. So if I do ACB, I'm going to color code my sides here because that makes it a little easier for me. AC was the side with 2 tick marks. So if I go ACB, I have to have the corresponding side here. The side with 2 tick marks come first. And then the BC was the side with 1 tick mark. So I did this direction. I did ACB. So I have to do green, my angle, and then blue. I have to do ECD for my statement here. My statement has to match up so that the corresponding parts of the statement match up to the corresponding congruent parts of the triangle. So if I look at this statement here, AC is listed first and EC is listed first. So that means AC must be congruent to EC in my figure there, and it is. Okay, so that's one way to make sure I get them in the correct order. Okay, here's another one. Determine if the triangle pairs are congruent. If so, write a congruence theorem and the statement. So I'm going to look at this one here. Okay, I have 2 triangles here. I have this side on the outside. Sometimes I like to color code things. I have the angle here. And then at first glance, it looks like I don't have any other information. But if you look closely, AD is in both triangles. It's a side that they share. So of course it's the same as itself. And that's actually called the reflexive property. But looking at this, so I have the side, this angle here, and then the other side in the middle. So if I go side, this angle, and that side angle, side. So this is going to be congruent by side angle side. And my triangle congruence statement is going to be triangle, let's say ABD. Then I went, my edge that's got 1 tick mark, my edge that's got none. So on this other triangle on the bottom, I would have to go ACD. I have to get that order right. Triangle AC. And it doesn't matter where I started. I could have said for the first one, I could have said triangle BDA. If I said triangle BDA, I would just then have to say triangle CDA. Okay, so make sure you get those orders of those vertices correct. Okay, next one here. Determine if the triangle pairs are congruent. If so, write the congruence theorem and then write the congruence statement. So it looks like when I look at this, I have a side, and the angle here. Now, my 5 triangle congruence theorems are side, 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 angle, side, hypotenuse, leg, angle, side, angle, and then angle, angle, side. What I have here is a side, and then an angle. In order for it to be side, angle, side, I would have to have the angle be over here between the two sides. That is not what I have. This is an example of side, side, angle, which if you remember from yesterday's video, is not a valid triangle congruence theorem. So these triangles are not congruent. Okay. Determine if they're congruent. If so, same type of thing. Looking at this, they share this third side here. So I would have my third pair of sides there, and then the reason these triangles are congruent would be side, side, side congruence. So I would write triangle FED is congruent to triangle FGD. Okay. Perfect. Here's another one here. Again, I have vertical angles here. So while it's not marked in the diagram, I know vertical angles are always congruent. And then if I work my way around this way, it's side, angle, side. I have triangle GHF is congruent to, I started at the one with 1 tick mark. I'm going to say KHJ. And again, that's by side, angle, side. Okay. So looking at this one here, same type of problem. I have this shared side here, and then as I work my way around the triangle, I have a side, and then that angle. I have a side, and an angle. And side, side, angle does not work. So these triangles are not congruent. Okay, last one here. I'll leave it for you to do. Hit pause, determine if they're congruent or not, and then if they are, write the triangle congruence statement and write the theorem as well. Okay, I'm hoping you found this side here that was shared. So I would know these triangles are congruent by side, angle, side. And then I would say triangle SPQ is congruent to triangle TPQ. Alright, so I hope you're able to practice writing your triangle congruence statement and also listing your triangle congruence theorem. Remember that there are 5 reasons triangles are congruent. If you do not have them written down somewhere, make a list, draw some pictures of those 5 reasons that triangles are congruent. Thanks for watching.